Hey YouTube, got a great video coming at you today. We're going to talk about 3-degree corners. So a 3-degree miter would be that where those meet up. Nice and perfectly, well, pretty close to perfect. Perfect enough for caulk to finish that off. So we're going to go over that very quickly here before I gotta finish up what I got left here. We're using inside corner bead, so there is going to be a cut off the back. So that is going to change one little thing that we'll talk about later in the video. But basically, this is what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to 45 your piece right at the center. So that would be taking the saw this way. 45. Let's see. And then you would take that edge off right there. Clean pass down. And then after that, you would take your piece, put it on the other side, and bring the saw back this way to 45, and then you take this end off as well. And then you'd have your piece. You want that to be right in the middle. And how you'd check that to see if you're right in the middle is you can take your square and you can line it up with your bit. And you want to make sure that both of the edges line up perfectly. So like this piece, if I'm looking close enough, I don't know if I can get you close enough, but see right about there. So you can tell there that this piece isn't exactly proper. It's got a little edge sticking out right there, and you would want to actually take that off. So I'd mark that with a pencil right there, and then run a blade or half a blade off of this to get that tip directly in the center. So if you're not directly in the center with your double 45 there, oh man, this one's tight. There we go. All right. So if you're not directly in the center with your 45, your miter isn't going to line up super perfect. Now that one actually looks pretty good, but if you do look close enough at it, you can see that that edge is sticking out. And that's because the 45 isn't perfect. If we go back and cut off the edge on this side that is sticking out, right on this side, then this edge would be able to slide up in a little bit more, which would clean that edge up. Caulk would fix that issue, so you don't have to get that close. But if you are doing like a wood stain or something, you definitely want that corner going up in there nice and tight because you're not going to be caulking it. So that's pretty much it with 45s. With 3-way miter corners. The only other thing I will say is because the back of this is gone on this particular molding, when you go to run up, let's just say I'm not doing any up in here because we've got a microwave coming up in here. But let's just say this was going up in here, right? My corner, my tip, is not actually going to touch the end of the wall here. That would push it too far for the next 45 to meet in. It's actually going to sit a little bit back here. So for testing your length for your ends or whatever your next piece, for this, you actually should make one of these about this size so that you can run it up on the bottom edge and then you run your other piece up here, and as long as the two tips meet, then you've got a good nice 45 angle right here. You can adjust angles if you need to, but it does get a little bit more complex. And also, if you do have a little bit of a weird angle on the wall, you can actually, with this molding in particular, lay it flat and cut your 45s. That would take this edge off, and what that would mean is this piece wouldn't actually touch in the back of the molding, but it would end up butting up in the front, and that would give you play back and forth a little bit, and it would keep your corner looking nice. But I don't know how long that this seam would hold in without caulk. So, but if you are caulking it, then you can get away with doing that. That's it for the 3-way corner for the miter. You could do the same thing for an outside corner. You would just want to be cutting into the molding instead of out of the molding, and same methodology for that. So that's it for that. I will also quickly go over returns, since we're talking a little bit more in the complex mitering zone. So how you would make a return: you would take your piece of molding that you've got. Let's see, I got an extra piece here. All right, so you want to cut an outside corner, 45 degree. We've already got one here, right? And then at that point, you would want to take another piece of junk molding and cut another outside corner that will meet up here with this molding. So once you've got your double outside corner here, put this together for you so you can see basically it's that. You're going to take your little tidbit to the saw. I would recommend using a bigger tidbit, and you are going to cut .0 degrees right off of it, right up to that tip right there. You want that edge to be as close to that point as you can when you cut it. So I'm going to go cut this real quick. I'm going to set you down. So you'll take your two pieces. This piece is too long, actually, but I'm not trying to cut this last piece in case I need it for something else. You'll take this, you want it cut right directly at this line on the back here, as close as you can get. You can overscore it a little bit if you're caulking, but I'd recommend, just cutting a little bit back on a longer piece and then slowly moving forward with the saw until you see that it's right on the edge, unless you got a laser guide. All right, so once you've got these two pieces, you're going to take your super glue and gel control super glue, and you're going to put a nice little bead of glue on the back of this. Set you guys down. All right. So if you can see, I got a nice bead of glue on there. You should go all the way to the top, but this is just an example piece. And then I also recommend, if you know what you're doing, this is called accelerator. It will make the glue dry instantly, because I don't got time to be holding this glue piece for 10 minutes until this bonds. You want to make sure you are spot on though when you do it. Soak the edge of the wood. Take your bit, make sure you've already test fitted it, and then you get one shot. I line up my two corners typically, and then I'll roll it in, or I'll line up an edge and roll it in. You can move it very slightly for a second, but after about 2-3 seconds, that's hard, and you can move on with your work. Now what I can do with this, if I really wanted to, is I could take this to the saw and I could cut this flush right here. Also, if you have a slight extension, you can sand it. I do let this glue harden a little bit before I start sanding it, but you can see that this is already one piece. So yeah, that would be how you would make a return. I'll go cut this clean real quick. Give me 1 second. So there you go. All flushed up, nice and pretty. So yeah, that's how you make a return. So that'll be it for the video, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope it was helpful.